Hello and welcome to the How2Exit Podcast, where we introduce you to a world of small to medium business acquisitions and mergers. We interview business owners, industry leaders, authors, mentors, and other influencers with the sole intent to share with you what it looks like to buy or sell a business. Let's get rolling. And now a moment for our sponsors. I want to highly recommend you get Acquisition Aficionado magazine. Every month, Acquisition Aficionado magazine brings you tactics for business buying and selling you won't find anywhere else. Learn firsthand from industry leaders who share their success stories, featuring in-depth interviews and stories from leading figures in the business acquisition industry. This multi-platform mobile magazine speaks to acquisition entrepreneurs wherever they are in the journey. And I want you to visit acquisitionaficionado.com today. Hello and welcome to the How2Exit Podcast. Today I'm here with Martin Bispels, and we're going to talk about all things mergers, acquisitions, buying companies. And man, you got a pretty cool background. I was looking on here before I get your orientation story and stuff. Just know that when I first seen this, I was like, oh, he's one of those guys. I mean, you have a career from the start in the QVC, and then you bought a company. But tell us kind of how did you get? Thank you for being here, first of all.
Of course, yeah, happy to be here.
And then we always do the joke, man, you were bored and now you ended up on a show about mergers and acquisitions. How in the hell did you end up on the show, man? Give us your origin story.
I started out at QVC and TV production. I loved it in the control room, live TV. I loved it. And then I jumped over to sales after being a producer and Tony Robbins producer and all of that, live TV moments, lots of testimonial calls, as you said. And then, climbed my way through QVC and then had a consulting business and then acquired my own business. So I say that I'm like a recovering corporate executive turned entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool interactions. You've had that experience and stuff. And QVC is a heck of a platform to cut your teeth on what works, what doesn't, what sells, what doesn't, right? To understand the consumer's mindset. That would be one heck of a learning. Like you pretty much got your own PhD in consumer behavior.
Exactly right. I mean, it really was an education, even in the control room, understanding, listening to the callers, understanding what spikes sales in real time, right?
Yep.
And then as a producer, managing the show, and then increasingly, ended up running sales and teaching my staff. And essentially it was, here's a product. How are we going to present it? Go. And, on TV and then over time online, on mobile and social. And so absolutely, it was incredible. I feel so fortunate that I had that time of climbing the ranks and learning so much about exactly, as you say, consumer insights, what really resonates with the customer, building trust, all of the content strategy, everything that I learned there. I was very, very grateful for that time in my career.
I can see how powerful that would be to be able to look at a product and go, this is the way that has to be presented so that people get it. And it translates both for, like you had video there, which means you had spoken and image, but it also translates into your written copy and everything else because, you have the foundation of what triggers and I love that real time. One of the things I used to love to do for my businesses, and I don't do much of it anymore because it's such a specific thing that we do, is radio spaces because I know when the ads run, you got calls right then. But it's cool to have different advertising mechanisms where you see this is said and then the phone rings, right? Or they changed the angle of it and showed a demo of it. They put the turkey in there. They put a fake turkey in the roastery oven and turned it around a couple of times. And, oh, people got it and they started calling.
Yeah, you have to put it in the customers' lives, right? And we were really good at that for presenting on live television. But then this is like 2005. I was the guy that was saying, oh, we have a .com team upstairs that nobody ever talks to. Like, shouldn't we all be working together? And figure out how to really have like now it's a trite term, but multi-channel, omnichannel. This was all at the beginning of that. And so figuring out how to make the channels work together was just terrific. It was such a learning experience. It was great.
Now, where are you located? Everybody on the listeners know I'm up in the Redwood Forest, Northern California. Where are you currently located?
So I'm about an hour northwest of Philadelphia. I raised my kids here when I was at QVC, which is in Westchester, Pennsylvania. So I'm still in the area. And then I work in my barn. When we moved here pre-COVID, my wife said, I'm taking the basement for my pottery studio, but you can have the barn. I said, well, that's a deal.
That's cool. So let's talk about disc golf because you went from QVC to being what we would always refer to on the show as acquisition entrepreneur. You bought a company, right? Tell us about
Yeah.
what you bought there.
Yeah. So I resigned from QVC in 2014, had my own
Mm.
consulting firm, had that for the last 10 years. But in 2020, bought this e-commerce business in disc golf. And like everybody, 6 months post-COVID was thinking about, well, okay, what's next, right?
Mhm.
What do I want to do on the other side of this thing, assuming there was going to be another side of this? Back when there's some kind of normal, what do I want to be doing? Do I want to keep consulting? And I love consulting and I still do that, just a couple clients at a time. But yeah, I said to my now business partner, Jim, there's a lot of great companies out there and we could go buy one. I'll run it day to day because I'm an operator. And he thought that sounded good. So we went off together and discovered this business on Flippa, marketplace to buy and sell. And I happened to know the CEO and the team there. And so ended up finding a business to acquire and was just thrilled to be able to find Upper Park and made the acquisition. And here we are now.
I've interviewed Blake a couple times. He's a good guy. So you found it on Flippa?
Yeah, we found it on Flippa. I had M&A experience. It was one of the things I had done at QVC. It was actually started their corporate development strategy. And so knew how to do M&A, knew how to build criteria and do the proper due diligence and all of that. And so we went off and I was looking at all kinds of different businesses. But yeah, I found Upper Park on Flippa. It hit all of our criteria. And I also really like John, the original owner. He had it since 2011 and had some good years but just was at a point where, out of time and money. And so was looking to exit. But one of the things I did was I talked to him and I said, look, I like what you've built. We're going to make you an offer, but I actually like you to stay in the business and remain as an equity partner and help me grow it. And so he was thrilled because this is sort of his baby, right? He didn't want to give it up.
Right.
So he was thrilled to continue on. And I said, well, what do you love doing? And he said, I just love making the products better and better and coming up with designs. I said, oh, great. What do you not enjoy? Well, supply chain and, other. And I said, okay, I'll deal with all that. You just keep making the products better and better. And that's what we've done. I was just chatting with him, actually. He lives out in the Pacific.
I was curious on whether or not like you're totally an e-commerce play where you just sell other people's products, or do you guys have your own product line?
Oh, yeah. No. So the core of the business is really our disc golf bags that we manufacture overseas but that we've designed here. And John originally, right, because he was the original owner, was a disc golfer. And so he just made a bag that he thought he would want to use as a disc golfer. And so then we just continue to make improvements and based on customer feedback as well. So the core of the business is the disc golf bags that we manufacture and sell online. And then one of the ways that we've grown, especially in the last 6 months or so, has been through adding categories like apparel and discs and some gear and things like that. Yeah. So we have a combination of some drop ship products as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Gotta have your swag. You gotta have that hat to go with your bag. And I don't know if is it like golf, everybody wearing polo shirts? How big is the industry? I bet when you looked at this, you did some analysis, right? Like how big can this get? Right? How many players? I know right now pickleball is real big, right? Disc golf was kind of the pickleball 10, 15, 20 years ago is when it first came out, but people still love it. It's what I refer to as a passion niche, right? It's our niche or
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. How big is the industry? How many how many players do you think there are out there?
Yeah. Well, there's certainly a few million players in the United States alone. And then
Mhm.
it's also pretty big in Europe, Scandinavian countries, is really, I mean, they teach it in gym class, right? In
Yeah.
Finland, Norway. And so one of the criteria that we used when we were first vetting the company and one of the criteria we're using for what company we wanted to acquire was just a fast growing space. And
Mhm.
so remember COVID hit and everything outdoors just exploded, right? You couldn't buy a bicycle because they were all sold out. And so disc golf was part of that whole trend, everything outdoors. And it had the advantages of you can be outdoors, you can be with people, but you can still be, have distance.
Mhm.
And it's novel to your point. It's one of those sports that like either you're way into it or you're like, what the heck is this thing? These metal things in the woods? Like, what are these? And so it was definitely part of the whole boom
Yeah.
of COVID, but it's been around for a long time. And, Steady Ed Hendrick was the inventor way back when. So there's a few million at least players, a lot of them just amateurs, but there is a disc golf pro tour. There's sponsored players. There's all of that, and so It is one of the fun stats. UDisc is one of the companies in the space, and they do a report,
Hmm.
and one of their stats that there's 5 new disc golf courses going in the ground every day,
Wow, wow.
which is cool. And a lot of them are in parks and places like that that are free to play.
Yeah.
So it's got a lot going for it as far as being a good niche sport and really based on a great community of people.
Yeah, all the ones I played at were in kind of public parks and that. Some of them were in some of the little rougher public parks, but I'm from Oklahoma, so redneck, gun-toting, concealed carrying guy didn't bother me to go play in the rougher parks. You can't do that here in California. I had to put that stuff away. But let's jump back into. I love the fact that you pick something, but you pick something that what I refer to, I mentioned it earlier, as a passion niche, meaning that the reason I like passion niches is they usually are economy resistant. I wouldn't say like where they're immune to economic changes, downturns, upturns, and stuff like that. But they're usually people who are passionate enough about it. They're going to play disc golf, whether the economy is doing great or whether it's doing bad. It's kind of you have fanatic users. Anytime you have
Yeah.
somebody is almost irrationally in love with a particular topic, they're going to buy the next thing you come out. You come up with an innovation or a way to improve their score, they're going to get it.
Yeah.
I think about that as golf. I'm a big avid fisherman. I love that you went into something that's passionate, people fall in love with, and they're going to do one way or the other. How do you grow it? Do you add other passion issues, add other products in your product line?
Yeah.
Mergers and acquisitions now. What's the strategy to grow this thing?
Well, in the beginning, it was just to get in stock because there had been some good years, but there was no sales and no inventory. So the first thing was just get back into inventory and get back in stock. And then we launched in the brand. The brand had been Upper Park Designs. I thought that's interesting, but it kind of sounds like an architectural firm. And so we rebranded Upper Park Disc Golf to really commit to the sport and say what we're about. And then really focusing on the brand messaging. We have a set of core values that we share with our customers. We talk about sustainability. We have a number of different sustainability initiatives. We talk about how our products are differentiated. We don't use Cordura, for example, which is the material that almost everybody else uses. And we use so lightweight, modern materials. And then also as part of sustainability, we use recycled materials. We were the first to use recycled materials in our disc golf bags. And honestly, it just occurred to me like, well, gee, for a sport that's based on plastic, it seems like the least we could do is make our products out of recycled materials. And so we do. And we use shipping materials that are recycled and recyclable. So just getting back in stock, reestablishing, relaunching the brand, having some clear differentiators from other companies. And, there's plenty of other companies that make disc golf bags. That was really the beginning. And then over time, our slogan is actually play different. And so I tried to do some things that were different than the typical. So for example, we have a brand ambassador program, which is different from others that sponsor pro players. We have pro players on our team, but that's not where most of our focus is. It's really on the everyday disc golfer, and which is much more interesting. So we don't call it this, but it's like an affiliate program, been very successful. And I build it in a way that everybody wins. So we don't pay our brand ambassadors in points or swag or any of that nonsense. We pay them in cash. And it's a commission based on what they sell through their codes. And so that's one way we've differentiated, and certainly one way that we've grown. And then the other way is through having additional categories, discs, apparel, and going about that the right way and with the right business model. And then in the future, honestly, the way to grow this thing is to expand on our assortment. We have 3 bags in 2 colors each. Well, gee, if we had 5 bags and maybe a few more colors in each, that's an obvious way that we can grow. And then geographically, we're mostly in the US. We ship overseas, but honestly, it's cost and duty and everything is expensive. The other obvious way to grow would be to have a warehouse in Europe and serve that market with a better value proposition because of the shipping costs would be much more reasonable for the customer. So those are some of the sort of past, present, and future ways that we're growing.
What's the second? If United States is one of the biggest markets for this, what's the second largest market? If you wanted to go overseas, where would you want to go?
Yeah, so Europe for sure. We're like I say, Norway, Finland, Sweden, disc golf is huge. The per capita number of courses, the number of
Mhm.
players per capita, I mean, it's much higher than anywhere else. But really throughout Europe and increasing, growing throughout Europe. So, we, like I said, we ship there now, and we even have players from our team from all those countries. And so that's another way. But, it's really growing around the world. One of the things I've done is in the beginning, once we got in stock, I reached out to some folks in the space and I said, well, there's got to be a disc golf charity, right? Something related to disc golf. And so I found one, an incredible one called You Play Disc Golf. And it's headed up by Executive Director Zoe Endyke, who's a 10-year pro disc golfer. She's amazing. One of those people that comes in and just lights up a room. She's wonderful. And I got to know her. And one thing led to another. She ended up asking me to be the president of the board of directors for, her nonprofit. And so last 3 years, we've grown Uplay. And one of the things that we do is we teach disc golf around the world. So Zoe's literally been, we were counting the other day, I think 5 of the continents so far, and where she's actually taught disc golf. And there's been like 50,000 people taught disc golf in the last 4 years. So really there's a huge impact and a huge growth in the sport all over the world.
So I would imagine kind of like the golfing community. I mean, a lot of the golfing community is primarily like high-end business users, so there may be more than the golfing community. But in this disc golf community, I imagine a large percentage of your people love these parks, love the fact that there's reserved places to do stuff like this. There might be a decent mindset where you're talking about your recycled materials and stuff to actually have something you guys create, like this, some type of stamp you put on it and say, this is a environmentally friendly company and we carry their products, right? You can almost kind of own that space inside of this market to where you're like, hey, if it's on our site, just understand we've done certain checks and balances to make sure that the future of this sport, including the parks and stuff they're in, is going to be continue to flourish.
Yeah, we've done quite a bit, and those sustainability initiatives I mentioned, and yeah, absolutely, the customer appreciates it. I mean, we've put it out there, and they've really responded well and understand not only that our sustainability initiatives, but also the fact that we stand for something. One of our core values is be a good human. It's treating people equally and celebrating diversity. And so having that kind of mindset and developing a real brand, as opposed to just, oh, it's just another company that sells stuff. It makes a big difference.
So I imagine having your background in video production and video sales and stuff, does that come and play now? Do you guys do product demos and 3D animated, views of stuff? And do you bring video
Yeah.
in a lot now or was that already there when you looked at it?
Yeah, no, we've done a lot in video. We actually, we produced a really fun piece of content called Planet Disc Golf.
Mhm.
So we had like the David Attenborough kind of mock, voice.
Mhm.
And we did this mock documentary all about disc golf. And really, it's on our YouTube channel. And really fun, celebrating the sport. I love those Planet Earth
I
documentaries with David Attenborough. And so we did our own version. Yeah, people ate it up. They loved it.
I bet I think the reason that I think it's probably a lot cheaper to set up a disc golf course, right? You get a
Yeah.
post hole digger and some cement and you put the poles in as opposed to like a golf course where you gotta change the entire landscape, mow the lawn a certain way, and then plant certain grasses and have certain obstacles and purpose and stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty much any field with a few trees and a few natural obstacles could become a disc golf course, right?
I mean, it's like anything. There's pros that really can make amazing courses and you can spend as much as you want building a course, but absolutely. I mean, the great part of the sport is overall, it's much cheaper than a lot of other hobbies because really you just need a couple discs to start playing. And
Yeah.
so even ball golf, a set of clubs will set you back, a grand or so easy. And so this is an easier way to start out and much more affordable. And then, yeah, the baskets, I have these baskets, I just plunk them down on the grass and
Mhm.
I didn't even build tee boxes or anything. And so you can, and there's people that build amazing courses. I know some of them, but yeah, it's much cheaper to get started. And then like you say, I also like it because, the maintenance is much lower and the sustainability, I think, is much better having natural areas as opposed to a lot of the golf courses are just so manicured and overdone and chemicals and everything else.
Let's talk about your consultancy. How does that play in? I know you owned a consultancy before, a consulting company, or you were a consultant prior
Mm.
to doing the acquisition of this.
Yeah.
What was that space? Is it marketing or what type of consultancy were you doing?
Yeah. So marketing, I help small, medium-sized businesses grow through sales, marketing, business development as like a fractional CMO. So one of the things I had done at QVC was develop a program for entrepreneurs and inventors to get started with QVC.
Mhm.
And so really enjoyed, we would nurture them along and had all this whole program. And I really enjoyed that. And so I resigned from QVC in 2014. I said to my wife, I'm going to resign from this kind of cushy executive gig and be a startup consultant. And she said, okay. I said, are you sure? Like, this is a little risky. And she said, you'll figure it out. So for the last 10 years, I've consulted with all kinds of different companies, mostly consumer product companies, but I've gotten into SaaS and B2B and lead gen and all kinds of things. And so unlike a typical marketing consultant or agency that'll come in and sort of do, oh, we'll build your website or we'll do SEO, or I come in as a CMO level kind of executive and I say, okay, what are we really trying to do? Develop a real strategy and then actually execute that strategy. And so marketing is fraught with big ideas and terrible execution, unfortunately. And especially now where everybody's hyperventilating about technology and AI, and they all have their purpose, but to come in and actually have like, here's what we're really trying to do. Here's a plan to actually achieve that I know based on my experience, and then actually be accountable to deliver results. So I become a member of people's team. I only take on a client or two at a time. And I really look to work with them. My typical engagement is like 18 months. And not because I trap them into a contract. I actually have month-to-month contracts because I always want people to be happy working with me. So I just take on one or two clients at a time. And what's interesting is that it gives me really great perspective on my e-commerce business, because just working on something different gives you perspective when you come back to it, right?
Mhm.
Like anything, you can get sort of lost in the weeds. And so having a break and working on something completely different than Upper Park actually brings me back and gives me fresh perspective. And it's helped a lot actually the last, 4 years.
What do you think about some of these guys doing the QVC style on social media? I see them and I'm
Yeah.
intrigued by I love a good entrepreneur, by the way. So I'll stop on those channels, either TikTok or when they go live and they have they're selling crystals or whatever they're selling. And
Right.
I hear them taking orders. Oh yeah, here's your order. And they're putting it in a basket. I'm like, this is really working for them. Yeah, and you see a lot of people are watching live and stuff on this. And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
these guys are popping up little mini QVCs, right? Their own channels. And one of the first persons I ever seen do it, she stopped now. She's dealing with some medical issues, but shout out to my Aunt Kay. She was an entrepreneur all my life. She's one of those people that I always looked up to, because no matter what happened in her life, she just kept fighting, kept doing things and never given up. And the one day I popped on Facebook and she's selling jewelry of some sort. Like, it probably was an MLM, but she had her little product line and she'd do this demonstration. Like, if you want this one, here's the tag. It's number 42. She had unique numbers for everything and she was making it work. And I was like, wow, this is
Yeah.
great. And I've seen all these other people doing it too. Do some of your clients, they do that, or are they going trying to get on the real? I don't even know if QVC is around anymore. I don't watch TV. I don't know. I don't have cable anymore. Is QVC still
Right.
around?
Yeah, well, QVC is still around, but they're not nearly what they were at
Mhm.
one point. Part of the reason I left in 14 was I honestly thought that there were headwinds and the best days were behind them. But I took that experience and a lot of those lessons
Mhm.
learned, yeah, and carried it forward. But yeah, I mean, look, live shopping is huge. You've seen the stats from like China, for example. There's a guy doing in the middle of a field. He's got his beef jerky. He's selling from his animals that are right behind him live. There was a story recently about this guy, and he did millions of dollars in sales, and then he got
Wow.
shut down, of course. But absolutely, so live shopping absolutely works. There's a trust and a credibility that comes with being live. The mistakes I see that are happening is the same thing that happened in the early days of what was called home shopping on cable, which was hypey, false scarcity, some of the nonsense. And so, we would really bring a different approach to things and try to inform customers about what they were actually buying and be trustworthy on actually delivering the product, having it in stock, not have it be vaporware. Like you see some of the crowdfunding programs out there that if we raise a whole bunch of money, then we might make the product. Okay. Yeah, sure. Let me sign up for that. And so,
It's working though. People are doing it. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And so, but look, some folks are doing it great. And
Yeah.
so I have worked on different things over the last 10 years. I actually had something called Product Search Live, which was just that. If somebody wanted to do a modern style home shopping show, and So I built the whole platform, trained all the vendors, got everybody ready to go. We had 12 vendors on the show, live stream, and it was great and it was wonderful. And I'm not doing it anymore because the guy, my partner on it, was trying to raise some money for it. And it's a very tough time to raise money right now, as you know.
Yeah.
But, that idea is out there and I don't look for it because I feel like I've done it. But certainly if there's people in that space that want some help with it, I can do that. And also I do bring it to my clients. So as you say, I'm really passionate about video production and telling a message through video, and I'm pretty good at it. And so I bring that to all of my different clients. I just started working with a company that has one of these. This is my consulting practice, but it's one of these smart cards instead of a business card, right? You tap.
Oh, yeah, and you just tap it? Yeah.
And so this company is called Net Cards, Nett. And they have great technology, some proprietary stuff. We're actually launching in a couple of weeks, but I've developed for them the whole go-to-market strategy, merchandising strategy, pricing, all of that. And then we'll get out there and go live pretty soon. And through that, we're going to use a ton of video to tell the story and differentiate the features, benefits, and all of that. And then, all kinds of neat live stream ideas over time as well. So I love having that experience. I learned a ton and I bring it to both my e-commerce business and my consulting clients every day.
It's brilliant that the people are taking those models to their house, right? You've got like if you flip through TikTok or whatever, once you've seen a couple of them, the algorithm starts feeding them to you. And
Oh yeah.
now it's like, why is it showing me this one? Oh, because you looked at 3 other ones and you stopped there for more than 10 seconds. Like I'm not in some
That's
of
right.
them are kind of I'm not interested in that type of product. Why are you showing me this garbage? And it's like risque stuff. And I was like, why are you showing me that? I'm not weird, or I'm not even. I won't use the word weird because they're not weird. I'm not into some of that
Right.
stuff, right? I'm getting old.
But I love like that
That
discovery, to your point. Discovery of content it's terrific for that.
Yeah. So where do you think the industry is going in this space now that people are going away from the standard cable companies and stuff like that? That everybody's got their I'm probably the leading example of that. We're in a tiny home. We don't have a single TV in our house. We don't own one. I have a computer out here in the shop, and then everybody in my family has their personal entertainment device. But because we're in such a small space, nobody wants to hear what you're watching, especially me. I watch documentaries and nerdy stuff. The kids don't want to hear that. They want to hear their cartoons or they want to play their game on their tablet. So
Yeah.
that took away something from the places like QVC and online shopping and stuff. But where do you see kind of the industry going as far as I wouldn't be surprised. Like, here's where I'm going with this. I wouldn't be surprised to see something on Netflix or one of these other sites where they have a channel for shopping. Maybe they already do, and I just didn't look.
Yeah. So, a lot of people have tried making their own QVC. And, I mean, look at Amazon. They've
Yeah.
had their Amazon line for a long time. And honestly, most of them are terrible at it because they haven't quite learned there's a lot of ingredients in the recipe, shall I say. And so a lot of them are missing some key ingredients. And it's easy for me to look at and say, oh, look, they're doing this part well, but no, I think overall the trend, as you say, is it's individualized, right? It's not about I think less and less so the blockbuster movie that everyone sees, right? Or the show that everyone watches. It's just not reality anymore. And I think that's a really healthy thing because it means that there's diversification and you can get into different things, whatever you're into. I have 3 kids and my 2 boys. I've gotten into all kinds of different hobbies and also communities of people because they have something in common in that niche. I think it's a beautiful thing. I think in some ways we're more connected than ever, right? Not because we're all watching the same thing, but because we could share these experiences within these niches and connect with people. Like my motorcycle group, people that I would never meet otherwise. I
Yeah.
met because I was riding a motorcycle, right? And I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that part of what gives me hope for humanity.
There was something that QVC did right inside of that space because that's the reason my grandmother watched it more than anything because she got to be on TV every once in a while. They got her voice, right?
Yes.
I was on TV today. I'll give you a picture. Grandmother by the time she passed, she had been fighting cancer for 12 years. So she was ornerier than snot. But most of her life, adult life, she was a nurse that basically monitored the EKG machine, the heart machines. So
Oh,
she was in, a hospital nurse. But when she was at home, she usually had like a Marble Light and a can of Coors in her hand. She was not your normal grandmother. But boy, when you came in to say hi to her, she'd set down her beer and say, "I was on TV today." It was the first thing to come out of her mouth.
Well,
So the thing that
okay.
QVC did right, and that I think that a lot more customers or a lot more marketers out there could get right, was find ways to get your customer involved in the process, to give them
Yeah.
a little bit of limelight, a little bit of not just testimonials, but share them with your audience, right? Like I've tried a couple of times at companies that I was trying to acquire, even though the deal didn't go through. It's like, you got to come on the show, talk about your process of selling the business and stuff. And they don't, because they don't want the employees to know yet, or all this. There's all these reasons why they don't. But I'm willing to share this platform to people that are trying to get something done. But I think more marketers, if they shared the platform, it would build a bigger audience. I think QVC nailed that off the beginning.
Yeah, and this idea of celebrating the customer and realizing the value, not just looking at them as, a wallet, and actually engaging with them and listening to them. And that was one of the things QVC did very, very well early on. There'd be a lot of customer interaction, including live television, live on TV callers. One of
Yeah.
the funny things about new hosts, right? The new hosts that work for QVC, one of the hardest things for them to learn in the beginning is when you have a caller that's telling you that they have the product and that it's really great, stop talking and let them talk. The power of the testimonial, the power, because everybody expects you to say how great the product is,
Mhm.
but to let the customer tell you, right? And because they're just so much more trustworthy because everybody knows when they're being sold to.
That third party validation is so powerful, right? They call it
Yeah.
testimonial, but anytime there's a third party validating a
Yes.
product or service, whether it's a customer, even a competitor. We had one product where our competitors would recommend us in one of our companies. The competitors like, "Hey, you should just call these guys. They're going to do it cheaper, and if
Yeah.
you don't have a severe problem, these are the guys that are going to do it." That's a hell of a
Uh,
testimonial, right? Same way that I think inside of your space, if I owned an e-commerce store, I would try to figure out, like, for every product, I would put a contest out there and say, for every product, if you love our product, shoot a short video and I'll include it. Like when you roll through the vote, I think Amazon even does this now, right? I can look through their customer ratings. I can see videos from
yes.
the customers now, right? So I'll watch a
Yes.
couple of those when I'm looking to buy something, especially something big. And I'm a very avid
Yeah.
user of Amazon because number one, I don't like crowds, so I just buy everything there. When you said they had Amazon Live, I was like, that's horrible marketing because I spent a lot. I spent $1,000 on Amazon this week. I spent a lot of
Yeah.
money in Amazon, right? I think it's very powerful to actually have not even just testimonials, like somebody else using your product and liking it, and or even if they have just a slight, "Hey, this could be improved or that can be improved." If I'm spending money on anything that I expect to last for a little while, I look at those videos. I avoid the 5-star ratings because most of the times there's a lot of those that are just BS, and I avoid the 1-star ratings because a lot of those guys are they hate the world anyway. So, but the 2 and 3-star ratings, I wanna see those because it kinda tells me what to expect. Oh, this spring dies after the thing breaks after 6 months, or this happens after this period of time. I read through those,
Right.
and that's kinda tells me what to expect. And sometimes I still buy their product, right? I look at it and go, I'm gonna use this thing 2 times, and it's gonna sit on the daggum shelf. I just need it for right now. Then
Sure.
if they have a longevity problem, not a big deal. But
No, that's right. And we use kind reviews and all the usual tools and a
yep,
lot of UGC of matter of fact, our brand ambassadors, I've asked them, and they've been great about sending in content. I want to see you wearing the shirt that you bought from us.
mhm,
And we'll feature you and give you a highlight and even promote your code,
mhm,
right? In exchange for you sharing a picture. Because I can use the mock-up pictures, but I'd
yeah,
rather have real people wearing and using our products. And so whether it's the product content and images and so forth, or the Good Human Sky to Disc Golf where we use their pictures.
yep.
I love incorporating their content. Absolutely.
And it's brilliant because then they get to go play disc golf with their buddies and go, "Hey, look, I'm a model," and they pull up your
Sure.
e-commerce site and show photos of them with the product, right?
Right. Hey, there I am. That's cool. And celebrating them, we'll feature our brand ambassador of the month, that kind of focus. People love that kind of stuff. Because again, they want to feel part of something and I'm part of this community. And if you can, that's really the power of brand, right? Is if you can connect with people over your values and what you're offering, as opposed to just anybody can sell stuff.
So how I know during the COVID, you had a bump because everybody's going outside. How's the business
Yeah.
doing now? Is it steady? Is it steadily growing? Have you managed to I mean, you've got your team has a hell of an asset, right? Marketing, you know how to make consumers understand what you're selling. You may not be able to make them buy, but if anybody has a shot at, triggering a sell, you've got the skill set to do it more than most of the people on
Yeah.
the planet. So how is it? You don't have to give us direct numbers on it if you don't want to, but when you bought it, how was it doing? And are you guys steadily growing now?
Yeah, so we are, and both top and bottom line. And so at the beginning, there was no inventory, no sales. So there was a huge spike just getting back and
Hmm.
relaunching, and that was great. And we went from 0 to a million in 18 months.
Oh, wow.
Real, yeah, because there had been one of the reasons we bought it was a great brand reputation, right? Everybody loved the products. They were thrilled that it was back, right? And then we enhanced that with the brand strategy and so forth. And then, last 4 years, really the biggest opportunities, challenges have been getting all of the internal workings working just right and tune, if you tune the engine, to use a car metaphor. And so, for example, I'm on my fourth 3PL, right? We inherited one, we went to another one, that was a disaster, went to another one, that wasn't great. Now we're on the right structure. I have a great 3PL, and the cost structure, the communication, all of that is right. The product mix, all of that. So yes, we're growing, we're profitable, and there's clear opportunity to continue to grow. My biggest issue right now is I happen to be out of one of our really popular bags. We only have three, so we're out of one. But I'm working on it. Just got an email from our, factory. And so, but that's the only thing that's slowing this business down is being in stock, managing the whole supply chain, which can be challenging at different times. But overall, it's pretty tight. And
Yeah.
then the growth in the future is continue doing what we're doing. And I've always said I will get inquiries about if people want to invest. I've always said I'm opportunistic about it, right? I'm not looking for an investor, but if I found the right person would have brought more than money, right? It really brought some insights or some strategic alliances or some capabilities. If they owned a 3PL, for example, and could give me a better rate or something like that, that could be interesting. But otherwise, we'll just keep on keeping on here.
For the guys that don't know what a 3PL is, what were you talking about?
So third-party logistics providers, so the people that actually warehouse and ship your products for you.
What, you just don't use Amazon? Doesn't everybody just use Amazon?
Amazon, I don't want to be part of the Amazon ecosystem. I'm a direct-to-consumer guy. I want to own the customer. I want to have the product margins. I don't want to get caught in the trap, honestly, of the Amazon vortex.
Yeah.
Quite
I
honest.
spend money on there all the time, but if I were looking at a company to buy, if more than say 20% of their revenue comes from Amazon, I see that as a giant red flag. I
That's right.
have friends who are devastated because they had products, they were killing it, they were driving fancy cars, and all of a sudden Amazon decides they want to be in their space and make an Amazon generic product that sells what they sell. Luckily for one of them, Amazon offered to buy him out. And I was like, look, we're going in your space. We'd like to buy your company. If you don't do that, we're still going in the space. And it was a subpar offer. I mean, it wasn't something that was top of market. It wasn't a horrible offer. It was slightly below average in my mind, where I thought he should be as far as the multiple of earnings type of thing. He'd have done selling it. He'd done better selling to anybody but them, but he didn't have a choice. 85 or 90% of his revenue was from them, and he didn't know any of his customers.
It's a bad
So,
place to be. And the way with any retailer, if that's true and all of your business is being done through Target or Walmart, you're at their mercy. And that's a bad place to be. And so,
Walmart's the worst,
yeah,
right? Because 'Cause they're constantly needling you to get down the, lower right, lower right, lower right. I know a pet food company that was in Oklahoma, the CEO was trying to sell later on, but I knew him because I used to have a marketing consulting thing. My master's degree is in marketing. If you're familiar with Jay Conrad and Levinston, I was one of the guerrilla marketing coaches for the guerrilla marketing system for a little while there. I was licensed underneath
yeah,
him. I would hold seminars and stuff. And that said, one of the companies in town was a little dog food company, and what almost killed them is they got to Walmart, and Walmart kept knocking their price down, and they went from a decent margin, what I thought was a decent margin for their space, when they were
yeah,
selling they were pretty much only through veterinarian. The guy was a traveling salesman before he started a dog food company, so he just created a real high quality, worked with veterans and veterinarians, sorry, to figure out what dogs needed, and he had a dog food company that had that material in it. And he finally got the thing into Walmart, thought he had made it, and they just kept cutting at him and cutting at him to where he was barely, and then anytime his supply or his product cost or his cost of goods sold would go up, he would almost be in the hole because they were such
yeah.
fighting him so much.
it's a bad place to be. And also, we've surveyed customers
Yep.
and we've asked them, where do you buy your disc golf stuff? And a very small percentage, it surprised me, honestly, very small percentage said Amazon.
Yeah.
And so that also told me that, and I think this is part of a trend overall, is people want to buy from people like them, right?
Mhm.
People that know, they know that. I mean, I've played disc golf for 30 years. I have disc golf all over my property.
Cool, cool. Well, we're running out of time here. What would you say, like, is the key takeaways today? If somebody's out there and they're wanting to get in this space, not your space, not disc golf, but they want to be an acquisition entrepreneur, if they want to talk to you about your consultancy because they think they could, with your help, grow their brand. First of all, how
Sure.
would you want people to reach out to you? And then we'll do it like, let's do a three takeaway thing. So, first of all, how do people get a hold of you if they want to work with you? And then the second one
Yeah.
is, when we're done with that, we'll cover your three main takeaways for the day.
The easiest way to get a hold of me and what I prefer is LinkedIn,
Mhm.
but don't just give me a random LinkedIn invite. I actually ignore the ones that don't have any context. I'd much rather you just write a simple note. Hey, I heard you on Ronald's podcast and would love to, chat with you about XYZ. I'm happy to connect with people. I'm happy to give
Mhm.
free advice. I love meeting smart, connected people. So just shoot me a LinkedIn note with some context in it. That's the best way to connect.
Awesome, awesome. And then three takeaways. If they listen to the hour and a half or the hour and 10 minutes that we're doing here, or whatever it ends up being after edit, if they listen to the show today, what would you want them to walk away learning, knowing, and use in the future?
Yeah, so I think if you're considering an acquisition, really think through all of the different parts of the business and whether you have the right expertise in place. Honestly, I have a lot of expertise, but I learned along the way that I was missing. I had some gaps. And so the stronger you go in, the better off you're going to be. The second thing is if you have any kind of consumer product or service and you're looking for somebody who can make sense of your marketing, that's a good reason to reach out to me. And I give a lot of free advice. I'm happy to help people. Or for the few that I work with, really one or two at a time, become a fractional CMO where I'm part of the team and really helping to, engage and grow the business. And, the third thing is, I don't know, I think that any kind of business, e-commerce especially, is the importance of really building a brand and relating to people in an honest way, more than just here's some stuff and I want you to buy it. Ultimately, marketing is about connection and the humanity of it. It's not about whether ChatGPT can write the perfect product description. Right? So, remember the human side and when you're offering any kind of product or service.
It's funny as I used to have a unique definition for brand that I probably stole from somewhere because I read too many books and taken too many courses and stuff. But I always said that your brand is what your customers say about you and your company when you're not around, right? It's the story
That's
that
right.
they tell about you. And you can
Yes.
influence that and shape that. Be honest, I used to coach against it in the beginning. If you're doing less than $1 million a year, you should be marketing to make sales. And you should be cognitive. In my mind, you should have been cognitive, like what brand do you want to build, but it should be not a sideline, but kind of the number one is I put $1 in, I need $1.25 out because you're bootstrapping most likely unless you're funded. And then be aware of the brand, but so many marketing agencies out there on this planet will sell branding on the sake of they can't get results. That's the only, oh, we're building your brand. And I was like, that's just
That's
because
right.
I can't get you results. If you get a good marketing guy, somebody with your skills, right? Somebody with my skills, we're going to look at it and go, we put $1 in, what do we get now? What do you,
Yeah.
the brand is, when we start talking branding, I was thinking they're profitable, they're steady. Now we can say, I'm going to put this ad out. And I know it's not going to drive sales, but it's going to solidify my brand name. And I'll
Yeah.
get some sales later on from that. There's some long-term life benefits of it. But so many people sell marketing and advertising on the sake of branding because they don't know how to truly get results. And that is sacrilege in it's heresy in my world. It's like, stop doing that. So I
Yes.
appreciate you and who you are and what you're up to and the knowledge you bring to the world. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much, Ronald. I really enjoyed it.
Cool. We'll call that a show. Hang out for just a second afterwards. I want to announce our new channel partners, the ITX Marketplace. Since 1998, ITX has created $5 billion in value by selling more than 225 IT businesses in 20 countries. ITX works exclusively with IT-enabled businesses generating between 5 million and 30 million who are ready to be sold, and M&A decision makers who are ready to buy. For over 25 years, ITX has developed industry knowledge that helps determine whether a seller is a good fit for their buyers before making the match. ITX Mergers and Acquisition Marketplace we have partnered with has a proprietary database of 50,000 plus global buyers seeking IT service firms, managed service providers, Microsoft service providers, software as a service platforms, and channel partners with Microsoft, Oracle, ServiceNow, and the Salesforce space. If you have an IT-enabled business you're ready to sell, I want you to visit the itexchangenet.com/marketplace. How to exit. That link will be in the show notes. Visit them now.